Okay, I want to welcome everybody to this webinar series, Managing Material Takeoff Change with the ICES BOM. Our presenter today is Don Knuckles of Image Custom Engineering Solutions based out of Houston, Texas. Don has over 12 years experience in the engineering and design field. Don was formerly an engineering manager of a large oil and gas surface production equipment manufacturer. After approximately 8 years with that company, Don started Image in the late 2003. Since that time, Image has developed numerous software tools that help their customers increase efficiency. Many of these tools are centered around the CADWorx product line. Image also provides custom software development, engineering services, and as-built piping modeling using CADWorx Field Pipe. So at this time, I'm going to turn the time over to Don, and he will show us the ICES BOM tool that they've developed.
Hello, everybody. First of all, I want to say thank you all for taking time to attend this. I hope it'll be something that you find interesting. A little bit about our tool here. We call it ICES BOM, and ICES, in case you're wondering, just is Image Custom Engineering Solutions. This program is basically set up to speed the process of developing bills of materials and, more importantly, comparing different bills of materials. One of the things that I've found is often a problem is it's pretty easy to release the initial bill of materials for purchasing or to give to a customer for them to purchase or whatever. At that time, you basically can use CADWorx and do an extract out of CADWorx and dump it to Excel or Access or other forms. But where the problem comes in often is whenever you come back and make revisions, and a lot of times that leaves you having to sit down with an old bill of materials and a new bill of materials and go through them line by line to try to figure out what all you need to add and what you need to delete. This software tool takes care of that problem, and that's what we're going to show you today. All right. Information about us is right there on the screen. I hope everyone can see it. Our web address, www.image-ces.com. Would welcome your emails and questions after this is over, and let's go ahead and get started. All right, here we've got a simple, we want to keep it simple as far as the size of the model so that you can readily see the changes in our reports here. So what we've got here is a simple header skid for a compressor station, and basically what we're going to start out with is a scenario that happens to me quite often. A customer will call me up and say, I know you're not done with this model yet, but I need to buy all the big flanges and the big long lead items, so can you go ahead and give me a list? So at that point what we would do is we would select items to create on our bill of materials. So we clicked our Select Items button, and we're going to start selecting all the big flanges. We're going to select this the big weld fittings here as well. So there's a 24 by 16T. I'm going to go ahead and get those weld necks as well. And down on the other end, let's go ahead and catch those two big weld necks there. Okay, so I've captured those items. That's all I want to get for right now. So enter, and we come up to the ICES BOM Header Form. Since this is the first time we've created a bill of materials for this job, the customer and job information is going to be blank. So we're basically going to fill in, fake in a customer name and number. This description field and the notes field is really just for your information in comparison later on. You'll see what I mean by that in just a minute. Over on the right, you'll see partial BOM. That, again, is just a note to help you in tracking your different snapshots. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and select OK, and at that point it's going to extract that information out of the model, and it has saved a snapshot. Now, while I want to explain, a snapshot is a data dump from the model at a given point in time. It extracts all the information out of the model that you select, and it saves that for future use. Okay. So to see our snapshots, then we're going to click our BOM button, and this is the BOM manager for this drawing. Notice at the top it lists the drawing name, it lists the customer and the job. Okay? At this point, we've only taken one snapshot, so we see one line item listed. So this is just a list of different snapshots that have been taken. We generate bills of materials and add delete sheets off of our snapshots. So we're going to say next. Now, there is a bill of materials. Notice on the top left we have single, cut, and total. So let's look at that in single. There are each of the items. When you go to cut, well, cut and total are the same thing. Cut is going to be taking into account cut lengths of pipe, beam, and that sort of thing. All of you presume CADWorx users, that is the same as CADWorx's single, cut, and total. Okay? So there is a short bill of materials that I might want to send a customer. So let's go ahead and generate the bill of materials. We're going to click Template Report, and we're going to select one of our bill of materials templates. Okay? Now these templates are just Excel files, and basically you can change the order of columns and put your own logo in it and so on and so forth. It's very simple to do. Well, here is one of our reports that comes with the package. You'll notice it just has the description and the quantities, size, that sort of thing. So it's a very simple report. I would send that off to our customer and say, all right, there's your list. Go buy those things. Meanwhile, design has been progressing. So we're going to go back over to the CAD model. And we're going to go ahead and do some editing to this CAD drawing. So first thing we're going to do is the customer comes back and they say, you know, this, I don't think we're going to put another header skid out on the right end of this. So instead of those weld necks, let's just go ahead and cap that off. If we ever have to come back and add to that, we'll buy those flanges and make an extra weld at that time. So we're going to throw a couple of weld caps on the end here. One second. I'm not the best CAD operator in the world. Okay, there we go. Now, I know this is probably not something you'd want to do in real life, but it's all just to show a point. Okay, so we've added a couple weld caps, and now we've got structural there, we've got piping. At this point, I want to go ahead and do a full bill of materials. Now, so basically, since I pre-released some items, one of the things that happens a lot of times is you get left with trying to track what you bought and what you didn't buy, and what are additions and what should be deleted from what you bought before, that sort of thing. So that's where we do our next snapshot, and we're going to capture the entire model. By selecting that box there, notice we didn't have to select any items. That's because it's looking at everything in the model. Now for you that may be asking about XREFs, that structural steel that you see is actually an XREF in there. So it's going to pull that as well. We're going to give a description. We're going to call this Rev 0. And, you know, we could add notes to it, but now this time we're going to say it's a full BOM. And that's simply for tracking purposes. So we'll say OK. Now, there's quite a bit more data there, so it takes a little bit longer. All right. Now then, we've taken that other snapshot. So let's go and look at it. Select the BOM button. Notice now we have two snapshots here. We've got our pre-release that's still saved there. And of course it says partial BOM. Look over to the right. Okay. So at this point, I could run another bill of materials, but that would get confusing because I would give it to purchasing and they would be saying, well, I've already bought some stuff. What's the difference? So by selecting two items, we're going to create what we call an add delete sheet. Now this add delete sheet is basically like a bill of materials report, but it compares these two snapshots, and it comes back with basically telling you add this many feet of pipe, this many flanges, so forth and so on, and delete this many items, and that will make your old bill of materials that you released yesterday equal to what your model is today. Here we are in our preview pane. You'll notice here we added a whole lot of components. That's all the pipe, flanges, fittings, structural shapes, and everything. But then you go down here to the bottom, we see these deletes, and that's where we've deleted those two 24-inch flanges. Okay, so now we can go and generate a report. So we're going to go to one of our add delete templates. And now we have an add delete report. Notice it's broken into two sections, add and delete. So that's a very simple report. Notice it's all totalized. We could have done that in cut or single. I don't know why you would really need to in single for this format, but you could. We've also got a second add delete report that actually puts it on two different sheets. And that's just depending on what you need to do. Sometimes that may be a better solution for you. Again, these reports are customizable as far as the layout. All right. Now, one of the things, let's go back and let's look at just the bill of materials for that Rev 0. And let's just kind of pretend that Rev 1 didn't happen for a second. I mentioned that there was a skid. The skid was, we extracted the bill of materials for that structural steel as well as for the piping model. And we can see that, go ahead and take that up to full screen here. If we scroll all the way over to the right, you see a column that says XREF true or false and then XREF path. By simply dragging that column up to the top, you'll notice now that it is grouped by XREF. Okay? So that allows us to kind of see everything in groups together. Okay? All right, so now let's talk a little bit about filtering. This bill of materials, maybe I want to run a bill of materials just for the flanges, for instance. So I can do filtering right here from any of these columns. So simply selecting flange, raised face, weld neck, that gave me all of my flanges. All right? There are custom filter capabilities. And for instance, I can type in pipe, and as I type it in, you see it starts filtering. Okay? So the importance of this is whatever is filtered, whatever you see in this grid, is what you're going to generate a bill of materials on. See here, I can do a custom filter and do all sorts of unique queries to filter down to a unique set of materials that I want to export. So here I'm looking for all my pipe that's Schedule 40. Now, if I generate a bill of materials, it's only going to be those items that I selected. Okay? Now then, all right, let's go back over to AutoCAD. Now, at this point, something that happens to us sometimes is somebody wants to make a change after the fact yet again. So we're going to stretch the skid by in two places by 2 foot each. So give us 1 second while we do this. And now we're going to have to go in and edit the XREF, so we're going to open that up right quick and perform the same task. Okay, and then we'll need to reload the XREF. Okay, and now we can run that bill of materials or another snapshot, and then we're going to look at what it looks like after those changes. This time we're going to do the quick BOM again, which is the full bill of materials. We're going to call this Rev 1, and we can say something like stretched skid. Okay. So we're going to go now and open the ICES BOM viewer. We're going to look at the third revision, and we're going to compare it to the the first revision compared to the 0 revision. Basically what we should see there is that we've added 2 foot to a few pieces of pipe, and that we have also stretched some beam by 2 foot. Actually, it'd be 4 foot because it's in 2 places. Excuse me. 1 second here, and we'll look at the results. Okay. Now then, so there we have added. We've got 4 foot, 4 foot, 12 foot on the 6-inch pipe. What happened there? We've got actually 3 runs of 6-inch pipe, so it's added all those together into a single line. And then the wide flange, that 6-inch by 20 pound, that is the top and bottom flange. Excuse the other line ringing. Okay, so let's skip back over. Let's go back to the BOM Editor. And go back to the BOM Editor right quick. And let's go ahead and just look at this one item again. Something I'd forgotten to mention earlier, I meant to, was that since we extract the XREFs with this, we also can choose whether or not we want to view those very easily. Over on the far left, you see towards the top, we've got include XREFs and our merge XREFs. When you say include XREFs, basically that drops them off of the list that you're looking in the preview pane. When you go to merge XREFs, what that says is don't separate these into different groups. In other words, it's all in one pile, not separated by XREF. Okay? So if you only want to drill down one level, then you can just unselect that and only look at the things that are in your immediate drawing. Okay? All right, let's go back over into the AutoCAD. Let's see here. A couple of things that I wanted to point out is that we could have isolated, run these bill of materials by line. That would allow you to actually run snapshots compared by line numbers. If you have a large facility with a pipeline that runs a long ways, then you can run a bill of materials just on a given line. You also can filter that way over on the filtering page. Okay. Another thing that I would point out is that no database is required. This is pulling information directly out of the CADWorx model. So certainly you can use a database. This doesn't, it doesn't keep you from using that, and that's a good idea in many cases, but this does not require that. Let's see. I think one other thing we want to show is that sometimes you have a single XREF, sometimes you have multiple XREFs. So let's go ahead, and the other thing that can happen sometimes is you have one XREF in a drawing multiple times. So let's go ahead and copy this skid, and we're just going to throw another one in here. And now we're going to run another snapshot, and we're going to call it Rev, what is it, we're at 2, and added skid. Okay. All right, there we've got it. Now if we go and look at our BOM Editor and we compare the last two, say next, and we're going to see that we've basically just added the structural components. Takes a minute here, but it's quicker than doing it by hand. All right, so you'll see here we only had add items. There were no deletes because all we did was added more materials for that second skid. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the cut list on this. You'll notice here we've got it broke down by cut length, so you can see every member. We've got several different pieces there, different lengths. Okay. And then let's back up again, and we're going to show one other thing. We've always been comparing two things that are close together, but there's nothing to keep you from comparing the last thing to the very first thing. or any point, 2 points in time. It really doesn't matter. It's up to the user. So there can be multiple revisions that maybe you didn't release a new bill of materials or an add-delete sheet to purchasing, and at any point then you can come back and compare those. Okay. All right, and let's look, this has a line number in here, right? I'm trying to find it right quick. Yeah, okay. So we could filter by, if you go to single, I'm sorry, no, just on the bill of materials. We don't do that on the add delete sheet because when you add delete, you're summarizing everything. So let's go back to look at a BOM. If you wanted to generate a bill of materials just for a given line, then you can select a given line. So if we go over here to the line number, we're in total still. There we go. All right, so I can filter for just a given line number. And there's all the items that exist on that line. Okay. All right, so that pretty much rounds out the functionality of it. It's a really simple tool. There is a help file associated with it. It's web updatable. In other words, as we release new versions, you simply go online through the program here. We go to our ICES BOM update. You click that, and it'll go out to the website, and it'll check for more recent versions, and then you just download them to your machine. There's 2 versions of this, and let's go ahead and just close this, and let's minimize AutoCAD. And for everybody out there, let's just pretend that we're closing AutoCAD. I want to leave it open in case there's questions. But we can simply go and pull up our BOM viewer external to AutoCAD. So we can go and hit the ICES BOM. Now notice there's nothing there. We have to browse to the actual files that we want to open. So we're going to go out to our job folder, and this is our folder where we were storing the BOMs, and so that's the file that is the BOM snapshot file. Okay, so there we are. That's all of the BOMs that we had saved. So from this, we can generate any of those reports and save those Excel files. The Excel files that are created, there's nothing magic about them. There's no, they're customizable, but you can email them. They're no longer connected to this information once you generate the Excel files, so you can do anything you need to with that. Our software comes in 2 versions. One is called the designer version, and it is what we showed you inside of AutoCAD. You have to have the designer to take the snapshots. The snapshots are the mechanism for extracting the information from the CADWorx model. The designer tool also comes with the reporter, where the reporter is that tool that lets us compare the BOMs and generate the reports. So you can buy a cheaper version at $700 of the reporter tool, and that lets you generate reports that someone else has created the snapshot from. So they're kind of recapping. The designer version is $1,200, and the reporter, the light version, is $700. Also, we have this for those of you who may be interested in trying it. We've got that posted up on our website, which again, I'll reiterate, that's www.image-ces.com. If you go to our website here and go to the Downloads tab, you'll see here a list of different computer files, programs and or flyers, information like that that can be downloaded. All right. Now, if you have never been on our site, you will need to register to be able to download something, and that's just simply so that we have some tracking of who all has been on here and got information. To register, there's a register button there where you log in, and and that's simple, and you can do it on the fly. Then come in here and you can download the files. We've got the 2007 through 9 posted right now, and then we've got the older 04 through 06. And the instruction manual is up there as well for those that might want to read over that to get into the details of it. I think that covers it at this point, Joe. I guess we'll open it up for questions.
Well, Don, I really appreciate it. We have a couple of questions. The first question is it possible to set defaults different than out of the box, as in including XREFs and things like that?
Is it possible to set the defaults different? Ryan's in here with me. For those of you who know Ryan Brom, he's our lead developer on software here at Image. There is a settings button here. I'm going to let Ryan go ahead and address that.
Currently, we do have some settings that you're able to save. An example would be on the snapshot. We have two different choices. You can save all of these BOM snapshots to one single folder, if that's something you want to do, or you can tell it to use the current folder which the drawing is located, and then create another folder named whatever you type here, and that's where it'll place the BOMs. So looking at how that's set up, you can see that we've got drawings. Here's my drawing. So in this current folder, it created this folder, and that's where my snapshot is located. So that's one setting that you're able to save. There's a couple of other settings on the reporter, which basically just tells it where do you want to browse for your templates and things. Now, coming soon will be the ability to, as you take the snapshot, tell it whether or not you want to include XREFs, and if you do want to include them, how many levels do you want to include? And that will be something that you can save your preference on how you want it to address that data. Other things that you'll be able to save is maybe you have some favorite filters when you're looking through the bill of material that you want to save. Those will be able to be saved as well. So right now, only settings, but in the near future, we're currently working on a version that allows you to save a lot of user preferences.
Terrific. That's good. Next question. Can the note be changed after the fact to record what has been done with the snapshot?
Not, well, yeah, okay, I think I understand the question. If you're in the BOM Editor, where you see the notes, let's look at the BOM Editor right quick. Can we change it right there? No, we can't. Now, frankly, we never thought to want to, and if that's something that would be helpful, that would be very simple to do. But currently, it's not doing that.
Today, if you needed to do that, you could go back to that file where this information is being stored. Here's my snapshots. The notes are going to be right here. So I could modify that note field. You have to be careful about what you do here, but that can be overwritten. And now when I come into here, you see that updated. So in a roundabout way, yes, you can do it right now. It makes sense, though, to be able to edit it here, and that would be something that could be done fairly easily. We wouldn't want to probably change the date and time or the person who did it, but notes, things like that, we should be able to update pretty simply.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I've overlooked pointing out here. You'll notice that the date, time, username, all of that is tracked for each snapshot that's created. So that's very helpful whenever you get many bills of material or many snapshots created to be able to know who did what and when.
Great, terrific. Another question just came in. Is that $1,200 per copy, right?
Yeah, that's per seat.
Okay. Okay. That looks like all the questions that we have. If there's any more questions, if you quickly type them in, we'll be able to answer them before we close. Just to close up and wrap up, we want to thank Don Knuckles for presenting this webinar today. I think it's a tool that can be used extensively for all of those that do bill of material takeoffs using CADWorx. This really extends the ability to gather the intelligent data out of CADWorx into very usable bill of materials. I think all of us have been in the position where we've had bill of materials run and then had minor changes or major changes to the model and then have to rerun bill of materials and come up with the differential between the bill of materials. And this tool, hands down, will save many, many, many hours of doing that and help alleviate any of the problems that might happen by doing that manually.
Yeah, one of the things, you know, this being able to drill down through XREFs, you can literally take a very large model with multiple XREFs and create a bill of materials and manage those changes across an entire site. It would be tough to do that manually.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Don. I really appreciate it. So I appreciate everyone that attended. Thank you very much. Again, this webinar will be recorded, is being recorded, and will be on the website as well on the CADWorx user and webinar blog that you can go back by tomorrow and review this webinar and pick up any other details. If you have any more questions, you can either email myself or you can email Don Knuckles at Image Custom Engineering Solutions. Again, thank you, Don, and I thank you all for being online. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.